So as Philippe explained, this session is a kind of a pre-wrap-up. So the EU Cloud Agile Initiative is sponsoring this session, and in this talk, I try to present it to you and give also some opportunity to participate, because that's what this is about, and also try to match, if you want, to compare the topics that I heard about today on the various papers with the similar research agenda that we heard from the Commission and from other similar events. So first, let me start by also anticipating the thank and the pleasure that I have in being here, in having heard all your presentation, that really altogether they make up a very interesting landscape of Cloud Edge and IoT Continuum applications, infrastructure, research topic, and projects. So first I start by quickly explaining what the IoT Edge Cloud Continuum is about. So it is an initiative that is made actually by two projects. You can see it here. It is an initiative made by two so-called coordination and support action projects. I suppose most of you are familiar with how the European Commission organizes this middle pillar of the Horizon program, which is about applied research with a policy background. So it's important that the various research projects are able to put their work in context, anticipate the impact that they will have on the European society, and alignment with the Commission agenda. And also that they don't waste time by doing the same thing multiple times. So there are two CSAs, Unlock CI and Open Continuum. As Philippe said, Martel and Eclipse are partners of Open Continuum. And these two CSAs, they won the same call. So the topic was to coordinate the emerging landscape of Cloud Edge IoT convergence. But the Unlock CI is more on the demand side. So they will concentrate more on market, verticals, and so on, whereas Open Continuum is more on the supply side. So we concentrate more on technology architecture, software engineering, and last but not least, open source and open standards that we see as fundamental enablers for this ongoing convergence. So at the moment, we onboarded more than 40 research and innovation projects, some of which, like NEMO, we have heard of today. Others you can find also in the research booth at the main conference. And this is just a list of the projects with their logos. And it's also it's important for me to highlight that both Horizon Europe project and Horizon 2020 project have been covered, which is, let's say, not usual, but we feel that is important, and the projects that are on the way out and are finishing can pass on their expertise, their use cases, their results to the projects that are starting just now. And the old projects, so to speak, they were cloud project or IoT project. The new projects are Continuum projects, and so you can see the convergence also on the topics and on the names of the various project topics. So how did we do it? Because, as you can imagine, the two CSAs were independent. When we submitted the proposal, we were even theoretically competitors, so nobody has visibility on the other proposal. And when these two were selected, we work with the Commission, and not only with the colleague Rolf here, but also with the others from the IoT and Cloud Unit, to make a team and to decide how do we organize this work. The result is these 6 task forces that try to cover the most important topics of discussion, engagement, and let's say coordination that were identified at the beginning by looking at the previous project, at the research agenda, and the next topics for the European Commission calls. So I will now go through one by one very quickly. I'm pretty, let's say, long-winded on these slides because they will be then published. So I'm not now telling you every task force what it does. What is important is you can join each of them. You go on the website, there is a joining link, and you can decide that you want to join with your project. So one is about strategic liaison is important. This is European and global problems. It's important to engage communities, to work with the associations and initiatives that have roadmaps, research agenda. So this is dedicated to that. Then we have, of course, open source engagement led by Eclipse and trying to work, let's say, both sides of the equation. So on the one hand, to provide guidance on research projects on open source governance. I don't have to explain this at the Eclipse conference, but I have heard more than once that for some projects, the idea of open source release was, after 1.5 years, we have a review, let's make a commit on GitHub, then the project finishes, let's make another commit, and here it is, the open source is done. Of course, it's not like that, and Eclipse is working very hard and sometimes even unrewardingly to push the idea of how open source should be. Likewise, still on the software engineering side, the architecture task force. And these three are the three that Open Continuum partners. This is led by Atos Eviden, that is another partner in Open Continuum. So as you can see, these are more horizontal and community or technical based. Then more on the demand side. Next slide. Yeah, okay, sorry, now it worked. Okay, good. It's about ecosystem engagement. Maybe you heard in the name of presentation, I'm not sure, that there are open calls, also by Rolf's presentation was there, that the projects get sometimes part of their funding that they have to give in smaller chunks to additional smaller development and research work. And this is coordinated. Each of some projects in a certain call has this, and this task force helps coordinate it. And then there is market and sector, where strategic verticals like energy, agriculture, or health, they are identified. These projects, they have use cases, as you have heard also today, in these domains. And this task force, again, helps them learning from each other, gathering together their data, their agenda, so that we can also have some documents that are summarizing the current continuum research and innovation, for example, in the energy sector. All this you can find on the website. Last but important for the coordination actions is the communication task force. So here again, you see all the various projects with their logo and their clustering by topic. And this is the communication task force that is actually coordinated by both CSAs, because it's important to both. And this is your first point of call, basically. They are running a monthly online meeting with all the RIAs that are here, and you can ask to join, to listen to the other project and to get in touch with the people that you could actually, that you want to talk to. Now, this quickly covers the initiative as it is. I would like to tell you what is coming next. So first, let's say, the first future is a step back in the recent past, because 2 weeks ago, we had this Nexus Forum event in Brussels, and it was organized by Open Nebula, but is actually a so-called event zero of a new project or a new CSA that is starting in January, and this will be called Nexus Forum. Some projects also made presentations there, but the important thing here is that while the current initiative is very much rooted in here and now, demand and supply, but it is really connected to the industrial and the vertical, sorry, the vertical and horizontal initiatives that are active currently. This one goes a little bit step forward, because on the one hand, it will strengthen the links between the Commission funded research and the member states-led initiatives like the integrated project of common European interest on cloud services. And on the other hand, we'll try to push a little bit forward the boundary of the research time horizon that is engaged in this work. Before, I quickly said in this center pillar of Horizon Europe, but there is, of course, also the first pillar, the European Research Council, with more, let's say, in a certain sense, freer research, longer time horizon. And we would like to start to also engage research as an initiative in this area. So there will be, if you want, more academia-led section of how the CSA works to also start to involve longer-term research from a road mapping point of view, also in this way. So this happened just last week, and 2 weeks ago. And next is we will be in Valencia at the BDVA, the Big Data Value Association yearly forum on the 25th and 27th October, so next week. And in particular, the uCloud Edge IoT initiative will sponsor a session with 3 projects that belong to the community that I showed you before, and it will be about sustainability, decentralized, intelligent, cognitive cloud system engineering. And I don't have to spend too many words to see how also today we have met with this topic. And then there are 2 other sessions that are more verticalized, so I don't have to explain you now which of the 2 projects is managing the sessions, because these 2 are more on the market verticalized topics, one on transportation mobility and one in manufacturing. And you can also see there that is also about data spaces that are now an ongoing strong movement, again organized by different verticals depending on the domain needs. One more is at the end of November, this Enlit, where there we will have a booth in the project, in the U project zone for all 3 days, and there is also intervention on panels there. But important thing, I tell you this thing not to tick boxes, but so that you know, and then you can also participate, get in touch with us, and if you are at this event, we would really like to engage with you and hear what you think. And also here you have the website of the event if you want. Now, last third part is to try to start the reflection and wrap up part, seeing what have we heard today in the various paper. And I tried here to put some common themes that I've heard regularly, let's say today, or by reading the papers. One, of course, is the presence of AI and edge intelligence. So it has been called in different ways, right? Federated learning, AI models, artificial intelligence of things, or MLOps. But it is clear that, as we know, the cloud edge IoT continuum has a strong interconnection with artificial intelligence at multiple levels. And this was already clear today here, and also I think the role, not only because of the location, but also the content of your papers, the role that open source software, but also hardware plays as a general enabler for technical progress, but also in the geopolitical key of European digital sovereignty. Here we heard of some data spaces, Gaia-X initiatives. We have heard about the RISC-V open source hardware processors, and also some verticalized pilots, because I really appreciated the application papers, because beyond putting the infrastructure right, in order to get the impact that we want at European level, we of course also want to connect with the specific sectors where Europe is strong or has specific needs, because this is where then you can actually get traction and impact. Then something that is, let's say, close to my heart in terms of my interest, my original trade of software engineer, software developer, is all the part that has been also widely represented here about not only software systems, but also the way we talk about them, the way we use to design them, and the abstractions that we can use in them. And so architecture design pattern and various tools and IDE that we have discussed. And last but not least, there are these things that are a little bit are curses or blessing, but they pop out everywhere, but they don't belong to any nice box, like security or performance, or also the sustainability, the energy and carbon footprint, resilience, and this attempt to make a invisible continuous environment from these very heterogeneous devices. Now, I listed this, that's my own reading of today, and then we will hear more from the colleagues. I just want to compare this quick sketch that I just drew with what happened in May at the consultation and consultation event organized by the Commission, I mean, sponsored by the Commission and organized by RCSA, where we had about 120 attendees, 40 plus projects were presented, so all the ones that we have seen. And again, there was a second day where the Commission didn't just want to hear about the projects that were already funded, but they wanted to hear about the next step. So they invited individual expression of interest, where basically everyone could say what they would like to work on or what they would think that should be more funded in this area in the next 5 years, from 2025 on. There were strategic roadmaps that were also considered there by the important European actors, and from all this, some 4 macro themes have been identified, and you can find everything on the website of the event that is linked from the slides. So one point was European Union computing continuum infrastructure, and this is where for example, the RISC-V and sovereignty came into play. Then there was the next generation MetaOS for IoT and Edge. So how do we build the software fundamentals for this? Then there was the cognitive cloud edge continuum, so the merging of artificial intelligence and the convergence of cloud IoT. And last but not least, also there were the usual things: cybersecurity, interoperability, software engineering, these things that were not planned in the, let's say, in the sketch of the event, but then they came out because they are important and they are cross-cutting concerns. So, in my view, I think we can see a certain degree of overlap between these two events. But I would certainly say that, for example, software engineering here ended up in the MISC bucket. So here, there in the consultation event, but here now it is a major point because of the current, let's say, focus and environment of this. So, trying to draw some conclusion. What was originally a two-way convergence? Cloud actors try to make the cloud smaller and closer to the data, so they have a certain view of edge, whereas IoT actors, they try to make the IoT systems a little bit more powerful and more distributed, and so they have another version of edge. What we have now is really something that is not anymore just a convergence of two trends, but has to include also things like modern telecommunication. We heard a few mentions of 5G or a more modern telecommunication network. I would like also to add HPC, which is something that we didn't discuss today, but it is part of the European strategy, and it is also something that now with the new quasi-exascale supercomputers in Europe is part of the landscape, and also quantum computing. As I said, this trend merges with artificial intelligence, big data, and security is always there, and it is a essential prerequisite for success here. And it's not all about technical topics, but there are geopolitical issues, socio-economical, ethical, and so on. And particularly for Europe, there are some challenges now: the digital compass, the edge nodes, carbon neutral and secure, the twin transition, and the trustworthy AI. And this is where an event like here and the Eclipse Con, I think, is very appropriate, because coming to this event shows that we are aware that it's not only a matter of advancing knowledge or advancing technology, but it's a matter also of improving the outcome for everybody. Of course, research and innovation is a pillar of all these things, but is also a pillar with many sides. So it's not only about academic scientific progress, it's also about community, open source implementation, the strange bedfellow relation that sometimes there is between open source and open standard. They sometimes are friends, sometimes they look like they are opposite sides of the discussion. And then, of course, the external forces, market, political, and the communities. And with this, I hope I painted, let's say, a worthy summary for now, and I thank you very much. Oh, yeah, I'll keep the clicker in case I need to go back to some slide.
Thank you, Giovanni, for your talk. My question is about computing continuum. There are a lot of people working on this area. Personally, I work in the Fluidos project, and I feel a little bit strange that we don't have a definition of the computing continuum. Because, you know, in the end, it seems that computing continuum is already here. We have the cloud, we have edge sites, we have edge devices, we have IoT. So we have computers and software everywhere. Is that the continuum, or is it something else that we have to achieve? So what's your thoughts, given your view that you have?
First, I acknowledge that there is no common definition. I agree. Originally, my understanding was that Cloud Edge IoT Continuum is a first layer, then you have to add at least 5G, 6G, and high-performance computing to do the computing continuum. This is just the ingredients of the cake, not how the cake is baked, okay? How the cake is baked, from my point of view, it is the metaphor is about seamlessness. And I believe that already edge computing cannot be defined in only one dimension. So it's not just because you have a smaller latency or an edge node. This Nexus Forum event, I compared an edge node to a border town, because there was a survey that was asking, how much memory do you think an edge node must have? And I was like, that's like asking how many bakeries are supposed to be in a border town. A border town, not a border town because it has more or less bakeries, a border town because there is a border. If the border changes, it's no more a border town. So from my point of view, edge computing is a multidimensional concept because it's about trust, it's about performance, it's about data, and likewise, continuum should be multidimensional continuum. So when we can tick all the boxes, when we can tick the seamless box in enough dimension, then I think we achieve the continuum. In the service orchestration dimension, what you're trying to do with Lico and Fluidos tries to tick the box of seamlessness of execution environment. But there is also the seamlessness of jurisdiction. So maybe what we are trying to do, what Gaia X, for example, is trying to do with self-sovereign identity and more fine-grained authorization, maybe one day could result in having a seamless checkbox ticked on the trust and jurisdiction. And I guess also AI could also be at this point another dimension, meaning that at the moment it's very easy to tell if an AI system is running on some very large data set or not. If we achieve with small data AI some results similar to the current best big data AI, that would be another thing. So this is the way I see it. But this, as I said, this is very personal opinion that is only to contribute to the discussion, but we are far away from having a clear definition. Even edge computing is not, it's still controversial.
I would just would like to add a small comment. A few months ago, we performed a literature review about all the definition of cloud continuum, and also another one about the definition of cognitive cloud. And it's interesting to see that there were like 3 or 4 different definitions that were coming from different sources. Let's say there are 4 kind of distinct definitions in the last years. But then recently, last year, they started to converge a little bit. So if you're interested to, let's say, a more harmonized definition, just search cloud continuous, the definition. That's the title of the paper. And the same is for the edge, how is call it, cognitive cloud. We did another paper, cognitive clouds, the definition. So it's easy to find.
Okay.
It's just a summary, of course. It's not, We are not proposing. It's just
but you know, there is this old saying, I think, from Fortran days, when Bacchus said that if an organization has 4 levels of management, they will do a 4-pass compiler. So this definition comes from factions, right? So the telcos have a view and so on. Sorry, Wolfgang.
Yeah, maybe a comment. I think it is good to make literature research. I think when I started to propose this topic in 2020, something like that, I made a search on the internet. I got about 10 papers. I wanted to have a bit of an architecture view, a bit of technical, maybe 20. So out of that, I made some story in proposing it. It was way weak. Until the point we got the first headline in the future programs. You know, I made another search. I got 50 papers. Try to make today look for edge computing. You know, you get I don't know how many hundreds. But where's the point? I think it's a good question. I think if you followed eventually the software-defined vehicle session yesterday, you get a bit of a glimpse where is the pain point. Because the automotive industry has exactly that problem. I think they build systems for ages. They know how to build systems. Then they happen to know to be IoT. I think what happened in the IoT, you collect data from the car. The car is connected, and you put the data all in your cloud. All fine. You use cloud tools. You know, you use the Amazon or the Google web space in order to analyze the data. All fine. So all you're in your comfort zone. All of a sudden now you're not in the comfort zone anymore. They have to change the system design. They have to change what they do with the data. We heard today also, you know, they have a running system where you deploy functions, where you deploy applications, you know, doing the operation. We heard it also for manufacturing. So that changes. That's a game changer. And that is the core part why we need to talk about the computing continuum. So it's not a definition about the computing continuum, but where are the pain points, particularly for European industry.